What? TV party tonight! Oh!
We got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes.
To our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuit!
Everybody loves Eclipso!
Gary Dog!
Pearson at Blurnsville!
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting Premier Podcast TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, once again, our favorite show is Stargirl, Season 2, Summer School, not starring Mark Harmon.
No, I'm out.
Brought to you by the good people at Berlanti Productions, Mad Ghost Productions, DC Entertainment, Warner Brothers Television Studios, and the CW. And joining me as he has for the first season of Stargirl from the Resurrections podcast featuring Adam Warlock and Thanos, it's Al Sedano. How do you do, sir?
I'm good. What's up? Ready to talk some, teenagers beating up things?
Yes, absolutely. I am ready for the drama, the melodrama. By the way, I do have to one day get you and Sheehan on here, so just to have all of that Long Islandness together.
I never lived on Long Island.
Well, you were from New York, though, right? If I remember,
I was born in Brooklyn. Yes,
we're close enough. It's on the same physical island. I know my New York geography. Anyway, moving on.
It's close enough, right? New York, Buffalo, Long Island, all the same.
That's right. You just heard Al not that long ago. He was with Jesse doing source material. They covered the second half of the Stargirl by Geoff Johns book. I listened to the show, but just as a quick recap, what'd you think of the second half of that book?
The second half of the book is pretty good. I think it does answer a lot of the issues you guys had with it, with her behavior.
Yeah,
it definitely does get mellowed out there. You could definitely see where they were trying to go with the show. I mean, the series. They were trying to. Wait, you mean the comic, right? Yeah. You could definitely see where they were trying to go with the series. They were trying to make it more like the Starman series. But unfortunately, got canceled too soon. And also, I checked. I think it's the inker because there's a lot of stuff I liked by that artist, and it looked very different from the stuff that you saw. And I was checking it out. It's different inkers, so I think the inker was the issue with the art. Because I don't like the art on his Lee Motors art in Stars and Stripe as much as I liked it on, let's say, Legion of Superheroes. It looks a lot nicer there.
Listening to you and Jesse talk about Stars and Stripe, I was thinking back to our conversation about the first season of Stargirl and how petulant she starts off, and she starts to find her way later on. But it's a bit of a trip there, and it seems like it seems like more so than I think The Flash or some of the definitely Arrow and some of these other CW shows. They really did lift this show right out of that comic book. Like,
yes,
they took great care, it seems like, to get the characterizations dead on. Especially
that first season. It's like, okay, Shining Knight, check. Dragon King, check. Shiv, check. Like, let's see what else we got there.
Yeah, they. I mean, the Flash in the first season had a lot of his rogues gallery too, but I think some people have complained, and I don't want to get off on a side thing about that, but some people have complained that a lot of the stuff in Flash and Supergirl and some of these other ones feel like in name only, whereas this one felt like it came right off the page. And
yes, there is a bit of that. I mean, and also this is definitely pertaining to this show, especially for season 1. The thing is, Flash, Supergirl, there were like 30, 40, 50 years of stuff that they can do.
Right.
And a lot of it is from a time period where it was just kind of like done in one stories, and a lot of times they were aimed at 10 to 12-year-olds.
Right.
So it's not going to really work to adapt like the origin story of Barry Allen exactly for the show. It would not work. But Stars and Stripe was a 14-issue series. It's a lot easier to do that all because they had to wrap up stuff. So except for some of the subplots that they were planning on that they kind of had to drop because they never were able to get to them, it's a lot easier to, and since it was done only 99, I think it was, it's a lot easier, a lot more modern to do that as the base blueprint for the first season.
Right. Also, you don't have to deal with. Funny, I actually mentioned The Flash and Supergirl, and they both die and get resurrected, get replaced by other people. There's 900 iterations of them. This is a quaint story by comparison. Stargirl is a nice little story with a nice little girl who has a magic staff and a big robot.
When you compare it to
when you compare it to her contemporaries, it's like, wow, this is almost too simple. I have to say, Al, we were both very positive, I think, on the first season. It starts out a little rough. It's a little Greg Berlanti, a little melodramatic, and she's a little insufferable in the beginning. But as we talked about, as season 1 progresses, her relationship with Luke Wilson develops. The other characters start to find their footing, and by the end of it, it was a well told, nice little story. I'm going to tell you, I loved season 2. I actually think season 2 is a much better written season than the first season. Like a lot of my quibbles about season 1 seem to have gotten fixed in season 2. What'd you think of it generally?
I really did like it. I really enjoyed season 2 a lot. I like the fact that they were able to make a good continuation. And since maybe I liked it a little better than the first afterwards now, because the first I kind of had an idea what we're going to do with it anyway. Mm-hmm. So they were able to do a little bit new and advance the characters. It wasn't just, okay, let's get on. We know there's going to be a Wildcat. We know there's going to be, let's get on with the characters now doing things and not just starting and learning. Let's advance this a bit. So I was happy with that. So
when we left season 1, they had broken up the ISA. The characters had died. There was a lot of what Yolanda has to deal with in this season is her guilt and trauma over having killed Brainwave. They deal with the younger brother who, and I do want to talk about him at length, but I'll just say right up front, they did a much better job of writing him this season than they did the last season. Last season we talked about he's kind of Ben from Growing Pains for a while and
useless.
Yeah. And angry and I used the word insufferable already. He's just annoying.
Once they got him and the mother knowing, they got to be more than just the little brother and the mom, because that's really all they got to be for most of that first season, because they didn't know, so they had to be kind of sidelined from anything.
Right. But I specifically cited Ben from Growing Pains just because Ben was this character who he was once he got out of the little kid face and got to be a middle schooler, he got to be kind of mean to his brother and sister, and he was sort of a goofy dope, an angry goofy dope. And the little brother starts off that way in, I should call him by his actual name. He starts off that way in season 1. What I like about him in season 2 is that now that he knows, he's presented with so much more earnest. He wants to be a part of the team, and he's just trying to figure out where he fits in.
Yeah, but he wants to help. He doesn't want to be a problem, and he's not trying to just get her in trouble.
Right.
Yeah, he actually wants to be involved and help and be part of their lives, and also have fun and fight with a robot.
Sure.
Who doesn't want that?
The whole reason why I went off on that side tangent was because they deal with him killing Icicle, and he has to say multiple times throughout season 2, it was an accident. I lost control of the car.
Yeah, I look up and here's this guy. Oh.
What to do? But yeah, I like the way they handled him. So what I like about season 2, and I have to give credit where credit's due, a lot of the CW manages to do this. There are consequences for what happens in previous seasons. They may not always last, but these characters go through stuff and it affects them. Yolanda spends a lot of this season dealing with killing Brainwave, and it affects every decision that she makes. And I actually think that's really, really good writing. We have Stargirl, our titular lead in this, who she found her place in being Stargirl. That's the whole arc of the first season is, she didn't want her mom to be remarried. She didn't want to move and all of these things, she was sort of being a brat about, but then she finds the Starman stuff, and it's about becoming responsible and growing into that role and all of that. Well, now she's done all of that. So what to do next? And it was funny. I was thinking about this we were talking about Spider-Man before I turned on the recorder tonight. And in one of the movies, I was talking about this with my son, similar to Stargirl. It's like, okay, well, yeah, it was the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, where he's like, well, I've been in Civil War now. I want to be Spider-Man all the time. I don't want to give this up. I love being a superhero, which tracks for a young, teenage person. I got to fight Captain America. Why would I want to give that up? And then Stargirl goes through that in the beginning too. Very first episode, she's on patrol with the new JSA, and they're all like, "There's no crime to be had here in Blue Valley, Nebraska.
We're going home.
I want to go home." Well, and she is having a difficult time reconciling that.
it's very much she has like a kid's version of, or like or somebody who's watched romantic comedies version of marriage, which is the big thing is the romance ahead, and then once you're married, it's all good. And for her, it's the same thing. It's like all this stuff happened, we went through all this stuff, but now I'm a Stargirl, so everything's fine because now I got there. Not realizing that, now that's the part that's harder. Now you got to stay it. Like I said, like being married. Now you have to work at that every day to make sure that you don't kill each other or anything, or any of the other problems.
Well,
my wife just killing each other. Never mind.
They subtitled the season Summer School, and part of the reason, other than to be cute, part of the reason they did that was it was a signal. She got so obsessed with being Stargirl, she forgot who she really was, and in doing so, she fucking flunks.
Cool.
She flunks school and has to go to summer school,
or else she stays behind.
Right, and and it's a great first step in this in the second season because it shows that she still has some more growing to do. She has to figure out how to balance being who she really is with being Stargirl, which is not something that comes easy to her.
No, she has to balance the whole work. It's that whole work-life balance thing. And, always gets easier as you get older. Always.
It's so funny. The scenes with Yolanda in the beginning when she's working in the diner, I thought were like flashbacks or alternate realities or something. It took me a few episodes to realize, no, she just has a job.
Yeah, I kind of forgot when that started. I'm like, did that happen last season? Or I guess, all right. But then she had the job. I guess I wonder if they'll see that again next season. Since she kind of quit abruptly towards the end of the,
Yeah, it confuse me because I'm like, what I remember, I haven't rewatched the first season, but what I remembered was she showed her boobs and then she wouldn't come out of her room until she became Wildcat.
Yeah.
I gotta remember her having a job.
Yeah, that must have been in between.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't have to go to summer school, but obviously she wants to get out of that house, probably wanted to get out of the house. I mean,
yes.
That was not she was not having a good home life. So.
No, they were keeping her in the high tower like Rapunzel.
Even going with this season, I mean, like the one time the priest is worried, he talks to her mom, and the mom is just the priest almost looked like he was about to tell the mom, "Shut up! No wonder she has a problem." Like he had that look in his face, like, "What is wrong with you?" It's like you're the reason she has a problem, lady. Shut up.
What do you think of Yolanda this season? Let's start there.
Oh, I mean, very angsty, but then again, I guess if you are a 16-year-old girl who's killed somebody,
right?
You might and was raised very Catholic, obviously, you probably would feel some guilt. So, yeah, I mean, very melodramatic. I know you mentioned that to me at some point last week. Like it got very melodramatic. It did help that once she quit, they took her off the show actually for like the 2 or 3 episodes. Like it helped in the fact that both you felt the absence of her presence. She was completely gone. She wasn't even there to see. But also, the melodrama, I think, didn't get too horrible or too annoying of every episode because we didn't have to now see her pouting and, being upset about that for like 3 episodes.
Yes, we didn't get the Twilight thing. I don't know if you've ever seen it where Belle is staring out the window and the camera spins around as the seasons change.
I have to see that. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oi!
I know. But yeah, so it's like when she came back, it was like, oh, I missed you. There you are. And it wasn't that bad at that point.
Yeah, no, I really, it's part of why I'm stuck on this. It's one of the best parts of the season. I mean, there are some not great things about this season, but in general, that was one of the better things that because I think too often in a lot of these shows, when the hero kills the villain, the narrative is very much caught up in it was out of necessity. It was kill or be killed, and a lot of and most of the time these are adult people. They have a little bit more better coping skills and whatnot. Here you have the 16-year-old girl, Catholic or not, who just had to kill a man. And while everyone is trying to tell her and convince her that it was kill or be killed, it was okay. You were justified. I was justified. You've ever seen that show?
Yes.
She's like, justification does not absolve the moral implications, as it were.
Still feels it was wrong, even though even whether or not she could be convinced it was justified or the only way,
right?
Doesn't mean she's still that doesn't help her at all.
And I think, when there's so much killing in the culture, there's so much violence on television, as they say in Family Guy, violence and sex in movies and TV, or however the line goes. But I often think that I don't think people really consider the gravity of killing another human being. It's kind of easy come, easy go. And it was nice to see a character really killing a person, taking a life is not easy. And it does weigh heavily on you, and it can affect you. And especially if you're a kid, it's going to affect you even more. And I like the fact they took time to deal with that it also wasn't resolved in one issue with a speech.
Yes. Yeah. She tried to do that towards the end when Courtney tried to get her back. And she's like, no, this doesn't help. You're not helping. Go away.
Yeah, no, I love that ending where she's like, she's like, look, I helped because I felt a moral obligation to you. It changes nothing. I'm still mad that this all happened. I'm still having difficulties.
Yeah, I'm like happy.
I'm like, wow, like I'm impressed, man. Sometimes the Berlanti universe writing is not great, but this was like, this team they got together is pretty stellar. I want to talk about Beth next.
Okay.
What do you think of Beth this season?
Definitely a character who came more to her own this season.
Mm-hmm.
Felt less like
a character,
the sidekick or a side character or a character, or a sidekick basically, and trying to become more of a main character, coming out of her own shell and becoming her own person in this one. I mean, she stopped living for everyone else, so to speak, which is what the character was like the first season.
Yeah. The first season, I said I used the word caricature. She has an earnestness about her that I like. She has a genuineness, an innocence. It's I'm glad not everybody, as soon as they put on a sparkly outfit, becomes a ninja. Her story about being lonely and finding friendship in the goggles, and her being more of the whiz kid, the computer kid, to help solve problems and not a punchy ninja, I thought was a nice addition to the dynamic. This season, she felt all those things seemed to have withered away, and what we got was a real fully formed human being. And she has a really great line in this show that I want to talk about. She at one point is fighting with her parents, the little that she does fight with them, but she ends up saying like, "Hey, look, not for nothing," as a paraphrase, "but you people told me to go get friends, so I did, and they need me, and I'm going to go be with them."
Yes.
Nuts to you.
I love that part. And you can see the look on their faces of like, what the hell just happened?
Right.
Because I've seen things like that, or had things like that happen, where people keep telling you something and then you do the thing they say and they're all shocked that it happened and confused.
Yes, because they want it done on their time, not
Well, it was good for them, but now it's not good for them, so don't do that.
Right. But it was great. And I think my one problem with Beth's storyline is that it's very much tied to her parents getting a divorce. And even though we have a couple of false starts, and because we have to talk about the villain at some point, we have a villain who is using illusion to mess with people and manipulate them. We never really got the truth of why they were breaking up, and I thought that was a missed opportunity.
Oh, so you think there might have been more than just growing apart? And I mean, I kind of felt like that was kind of a thing from the beginning. You could see they were never home, and they both were always working. It's not like they were never home together. They were both always so absentee, not just from her life, but each other's lives.
I think I got caught up in that's just a television trope. All children live in a place where their parents are never around. They're always working or something.
Unless you're the main character, and unless your parents are main characters, then they're involved.
Right. Yeah. If you're a kid on a television show and the kids are the central characters, your parents are always at work or on a trip to Europe or something.
Well, maybe they used the divorce came up because, I mean, it was part of the writing of the show, not in the characters, but the writing, because they realized, hey, that's a reason to use this instead of just go. Right. What we did is the fact they're never around each other.
Right. And I just wish you're not wrong. It was touched on. It was sort of pointed at from about 50 yards. But I think I don't know. Probably anyone that watched this show has more of an opinion about it, similar to yours, than mine, where it's just like, who gives a crap? Like, the parents are so far removed from the central narrative of what's going on in this show. Why would you care that they got divorced? I'm like, I was interested. I really wanted there to be kind of an emotional moment between Beth and her parents, recognizing that, things happen, and people grow apart from each other, and how is that going to affect Beth? I feel like by the time they finally got around to all of that, we were into the third part of the season, and we were
that's
busy
like towards
dealing
the
with
end.
Eclipso.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. They might be more involved because they know now what's going on. At the end of the season, they know everything. And they want to be very involved. They're actually doing reverse now of what they're being her from the first season.
Right.
But is that going to last, or is that going to, I mean, you said earlier, they do consequences. Will that last? Or or will that still fizzle out, and halfway through the next season, they're back to where they were, ready to get divorced again?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know how much of season 3's been developed at this point or scripted out, but if anyone's listening, if there's an intern from Berlanti Productions listening to me, please do more with Beth's parents. I need to know. It's keeping me up at night. Let's I don't have a whole lot to talk about with the kid that plays Our Man 2.
Rick.
Rick. It because there's a couple of other characters we have to discuss, it almost feels like the one character that got short shrift in this season was Rick. Like, I don't feel like he had much to do with anything.
Beyond the Grundy thing.
Yeah.
Making friends with Grundy.
All right.
And then, again, having his own melodrama. So, although, again, they did that well, where the fact is once he beat up his uncle and went to jail, for the most part, he wasn't in those episodes. So again, you felt I have to say again, like they with Yolanda, I like that. It wasn't just we saw them there. We actually felt their absence too. They were not part of anything at all. So it definitely made it feel like, there's a problem now where like people are being lost. Like, look, they're gone and they're gone. We don't even see them.
All right. So I got to ask you, because you're my comic book expert. And considering there's only two of us here, I don't know who else I would talk to, but you are a comic book expert.
A little.
What is the deal with quote unquote Green Lantern's daughter? Does that have any connection to any comic book character of any kind, or is this a wholesale? Okay, please take it away.
Nope. Jade and her brother Todd, or Obsidian, are the children of the Golden Age Green Lantern, Alan Scott.
All right.
Yeah, he is the one that recently came out as gay.
I was going to bring that up. Like,
that's him. He is the one from the 40s.
Yep.
They were his children, although he didn't know they were his kids. It was one of those things that always happen, of course,
Sure.
I think their mom was a supervillain and then went crazy and led away and then had the kids and they were up for adoption. So again,
is that what happened? Their mom's a supervillain?
From what I remember, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I think she was one called the Thorn.
Okay.
So again, them being up for adoption. In fact, I don't think they were raised together. They were both separated. So again, that tracks. And yes, the power was, she inherited the power, so it was more in her. She didn't have a ring in the comics. She just had her skin's green in the comics. Obviously, they're not doing that here, but yeah, she just has that power in her inherently.
Okay. And is she a hero or is she a villain in the comics?
Oh, hero. She first appears as part of a team called Infinity Inc.
Okay.
Which was mostly made up of the children, or heirs, or the proteges of the Justice Society. So her brother Todd, let's see, their Brainwave Jr. was part of it. Obviously he's not now because he's dead. There was a new Dr. Midnight named Dr. Beth Chapel.
Oh, okay.
That's where she comes from. Rick Tyler, the second Hour Man, he was part of it.
Oh, okay. So this really is ripped from the pages of DC Comics.
Yeah. Their leader was Skyman, who used to be the Star Spangled Kid.
Okay.
So they're mixing it a bit with it. Basically, the show is basically Stars and Stripe, mostly mixed with Infinity Inc.
Gotcha.
A lot of these characters are all Infinity Inc. characters. And by the way, a lot of them also got killed later on by Eclipso, including Beth. The comic version of Beth has been dead since the 90s.
Okay. Now she hasn't come back yet?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm not as up to date on stuff as I had been like 15 years ago. So
fair enough.
Maybe.
So yeah, I had no connection to it, and I'll tell you, I'm not gonna lie. There's a part of this where I would play on my phone, just kind of listening, but half paying attention. And so they introduced Jade early on. She breaks into the house. She gets into a fist fight with Stargirl, which was pretty funny. And then it's like, oh, I'm Green Lantern's daughter. And because I have no connection to this, or I don't know where they're going with this, They did a really great job of making me, as the viewer, suspicious, just like Stargirl was, that she was pulling a fast one and was not who she said she was. An episode or two later, they resolve all of that, and then she's gone. And I swear to God, Al, I probably shouldn't have been looking at my phone because I had no idea where she went off to. And they're dealing with elements of the plot. And I'm like, where did Green Lantern's daughter go?
They didn't know either. She just ditched them.
she went into another episode, is what she did.
She basically went, wait, what's the budget for the next two? Oh, okay, so I'm not. You got no budget for me? All right, I'm out. I'll be back when you have time for me.
I have a Disney Plus show audition to go to. I'm out.
I mean, it's one of the things we have to accept. I've learned I had to accept with these TV shows, though, is what are the changes it's going to be? It's like they're going to go by what their budget is. So, it's like if we don't have the budget to keep all these people on, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
Because we can't afford to keep you all on every episode.
They do bring her back later. That Institute, is that anything from the comics, or was that
I don't know. See, I never was really a big reader of Infinity Inc. I read some of it, but I don't read all of it. And while I don't know about the Institute, I know there was a villain team that Infinity Inc. fought called Helix.
Okay.
And Mr. Bones was a member of Helix at one point.
Yes, that is Keith David at the end in the season finale that you just hear off screen. But I did a little bit of research, and yes, Mr. Bones is a character who's being played by who's being played by the actor I just said, Keith David. Keith David, yes. I thought, God damn it. Long day of work. Anyway, and I guess that's your lead in for season 3, which this has been renewed for. So hey, we have to do this again next year, Al.
Yeah, frenemies. They call it.
Frenemies. That's
because
right.
the Crocs moved in next door, and that's one of the real quick. That's one of the things I hope they don't forget to touch on. They said the daughter broke them out of prison, so something had to happen that they can.
Maybe they were paroled. Yeah, the big prison that they're in is overcrowded or something. Who knows?
You help save the world. Okay, you can go home early.
Sure, that works for me. All right. So, is there any other characters? Let's probably talk about the Shade. They introduce more of the Shade. He becomes sort of a central figure here. He's sort of a tweener character. He has a really great line with Beth later on, and not Beth, Stargirl's mother. They have a really great dialogue exchange. They have some really fun chemistry on screen. They get to have a couple of scenes together early on, but later in the show, where Stargirl goes into the dark dimension, whatever it's called,
the Shadowlands, yeah.
Shadowlands, yeah. And the mother finds the Shade in the theater, and she says something to him, and he was like, "Don't threaten me. I still have enough power to kill you twice." And she's just like, "Just do it then, because I don't want to be on this earth without my daughter." I mean, I used the word melodrama before, but there are times where these shows do get to me. And that line really did. When she's kill me because I don't want to be on this. Go ahead.
So no, go. I didn't interrupt. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish up first.
Just that line. I don't want to live without my daughter. Like, I've got kids. I mean, like that really hit me hard.
Yeah, but also I don't think that's a melodrama thing, because she's not being melodramatic, like crying and throwing things and just saying, "I don't want to be here." She's literally, he's like, "I can kill you." She's like, "Well, then just do the damn thing. You want to kill me?
Right.
Go ahead. Either kill me or help. Either way, shut up and do something."
Right.
That was good. I thought that was great.
Oh, it's a well acted bit.
Yeah, no, and again, she got more to do this season because now she's part of it and involved. So it's great. But yeah, no, Shade was great because Shade, again, that's very much the Shade from Starman. He was a villain, but and they kind of got to this at the end of the season, except it's a different city. But in Starman, it's the town Opal City where it takes place, where basically he views that as his home. So it's like, yeah, I might go commit crimes other places, but you don't crap where you eat.
Right.
And while he's not he's like, I might not be a hero, but if someone's gonna like destroy the whole town I live in,
right.
As the line says, that's where I keep all my stuff.
Right.
I'm gonna stop the guy from destroying the town I live in because I live here. And I might give you some advice, but I'm not gonna he's not a hero. He's like, yeah, I like this place.
I think he said something along the lines of, yeah, I was with the ISA. They served my needs at the time, but I'm really not into all the things they were into, and I moved on with my life. Yeah. I would not all the way call him a villain so much as he's an opportunist. He's definitely chaotic neutral.
Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, he's a bit more of a gentleman thief.
Yeah.
You know, he's not going to kill people if he doesn't have to. He's like, to him, it's like, that's so easy and sloppy. It's like, it's more, you know, he has more panache than that. Like you said, when they fakes his own death, he's like, you know, he likes a bit of the drama and, you know, he likes a bit of the theater.
Sure. You know? I like the guy that played him. I don't have the cast of stuff in front of me, but the guy who played him, I thought did a really good job of hitting the right note between earnest and pompous. Yeah. So I thought they did a good job with him. I like his exchanges with Luke Wilson. Luke Wilson in the first season, all he wanted to do was just be a dad. Just be a dad, and wanted to fix cars and be a dad. And this damn girl got into his box with his magic staff, and now all of this drama is happening, and he just wants a nice normal life, and he can't get it. You know, and then we get a little bit more of that where he's like, okay, I accept that being a superhero and Starman and, you know, and my robot, they're a part of my life. They're not going anywhere. But can we all just have a sandwich? Can we all just have a nice little dinner together?
Oh, Jonathan Cake is the name of the actor who plays the Shade.
Thank you. And this is more, we get more of that with Luke Wilson. This is actually going back to Stargirl. She and him have such great chemistry, especially this. I didn't catch it in the first season, but this season, Basinger and Luke Wilson have, I don't want to say like sexual chemistry because that's gross.
Well, it's different type. There's different types of chemistry to have, and they have good. You know, I mean, it's good. They do have chemistry, but forgetting the age of the actor, you know, of the character, you know, the actors, you know, both of them are over 18, but she's still only like 22 or 23.
Right.
So, you know, but they do have great chemistry together. They work well together. They play off each other.
I didn't want to imply for people listening that I think like they should be a couple or anything like that. But they have really great on-screen chemistry. And there's, you know, and a lot of what happens this season between the two of them is he's going out of his way to try to protect her as much as he can, but in doing so, he doesn't tell her whole truths. And then when she finds them out, she feels betrayed. And here she is trying to trust this guy who she didn't want to like in the first place.
And now she does.
And now she does, and he keeps disappointing her. And it builds to this one, you know, a lot of times in drama, that, you know, things build to like a crescendo, and sometimes they go past where they need to go and they become shrill. This was almost the opposite of that. There's a scene in the car where she's trying to get him to tell her something.
Oh, where they're going.
Yeah, where they're going.
Because they're going to find Jade.
Right. And it's something along the lines of, it might have been two different bits, but it was something along the lines of, you know, don't, you know, something like, please open up to me. Like, please don't hold back from me. And she says it in almost a whisper, and it's a great performance. And you can see Luke Wilson just die a little inside because he is so like guilt stricken. Like, he doesn't want to lay all this on a child. On the other hand, she's not wrong. And it's a really good bit of business. Yeah,
no, their relationship was good. I mean, and again, one thing I liked about this season was they had that issue. They didn't spend every episode on it, and it didn't just get resolved at the very end as part of like, you know, well, we beat the guy, so I'm cool with everything now.
Yes. Thanks for lying to me. I understand, you know, you were just trying to protect me now. No, they
dealt that earlier. So we had the arc of that, but it still, you know, and still kept going everything else.
Yeah. I want to take a minute here and say, like I said, the writing on this is pretty sharp. I think it's one of the best ones of all the various CW shows. I think the only one that the one that had the best writing, and it's too bad it only lasted one season, was Swamp Thing. Jesse and I love the crap out of that.
I watched that when I was on DC Universe, and that I was so wishing for a second season. That was so damn good.
Keep crossing my fingers. HBO Max will dump money into it. But you know, everything could use a little edge, you know, with the writing, and what better edge to get yourself than Grammarly? One of my exhaustive plugs. For you listeners of TV Party Tonight on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, brought to you by W2M, Grammarly is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M network. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2M network to download Grammarly for free. All right, we are into the second half of the hour we're going to spend on this. Tell me about your thoughts on Eclipso.
There are two things. One, I mean, I know it's a TV budget. I was not thrilled with the look of Eclipso. I would have preferred to save that to the end.
Mm-hmm.
However, that little kid
Mm-hmm.
was great, I thought. He delivered that stuff perfectly. I thought that little kid was great as Eclipso and creepy as hell. And like, I wish they could have kept him more as the kid and actually see the real Eclipso more sparingly than they did.
Does Eclipso in the comic book look like a Skrull from the Marvel Universe the way this one did?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
And it can't wear that costume. So it was pretty accurate, but sometimes accurate doesn't always work.
No.
And especially like some of the makeup just seemed, you know what it kept reminding me of? Like, even though it doesn't look exactly like that, I kept thinking I was watching Leprechaun.
Okay.
Well, and I think especially that last episode, especially when they're fighting him at the end and like there's a lot of more shadows there, it would have worked better.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe save more money and make it a little, put more money into it because it's only being used in like one episode.
Yeah.
And use that kid more because that kid was creepy as hell. And he was.
Yeah, I hope he gets more work. That he is a great actor. I mean, I don't think he needs to ascend into the movies, but like get him some more television work. He's really good.
Yeah, he was, and he didn't overdo it. I mean, either it's him and or whoever's directing, coaching this kid.
Mm-hmm.
Good, did great. Like they got out of him exactly what they needed. He didn't overdo it. He just did it, just right.
Yeah, there was an air of subtlety to his performance, where he wasn't like a child doing mustache twirl. He was, like I said, being subtle, subtle yet menacing. It was some interesting work for a child actor.
It was almost like he was saying what he's saying about like killing people and torturing people, but with like a child's innocence. Like he did it, but with a child's innocence, but yet he still knew exactly what he was doing.
Right.
And it was he was great as Eclipso.
Mm-hmm.
The other Eclipso, wait to the end and put more money into it. It just felt a little off. I mean, at least to me, it felt a little off looking at him.
Eclipso is the second. If this had been split into two halves, one airing first part of the year, second half airing the second part of the year, like you do with a full 26 or 23 episode show. Eclipso was the second half of the year. The first half is getting it's trying to put the band back together. We're trying to get the ASA back together. What's her face? Dragon King's daughter. I loved her in this season. Last season, she was yet another insufferable person. She was a little too.
Her best part is the part when she breaks into Courtney's goes into Courtney's room and is eating the candy with her.
Yes, yeah, that scene's good from season 1
because they have good chemistry together.
Yes, they do. She got ridiculous, and I don't know how much of that is the actress. I'm almost guaranteeing the actress is probably fine. I think it was the way she was written and what she was given to work with. I thought was a bit over the top at times, and then towards the end, it just got too stupid for me. But this season, she has a lot of really like subtly funny moments.
Yeah, especially
when once Courtney rescues her from the Shadowlands and they have to team up together. And she has some really funny bits also with Yolanda, unintentionally funny bits with Yolanda. She's I realized this season how good of an actress she is, because while she doesn't always have the best stuff to do, she has really great line delivery and credit where credit's due. A lot of good like body acting. She does some stuff with her body in some of these scenes where she's just talking to somebody, which cracked me up. A little shift of the shoulder, that sort of thing.
Oh, but you can tell she does not give a damn at all. For like they're talking to her and she's like, "Oh, really? That's so interesting." And you can tell the body. She's like, "I really don't give a damn if you just drop dead and stop talking now."
I think the bit where she's in the kitchen and she's like eating a sandwich.
This is delicious. Thank you so much.
So good. Yeah. What'd you think of the first half of the season where she's putting the band back together?
No, it was expected. But the Eclipso twist, I mean, I knew Eclipso was part of it because we saw that before. And you knew he was getting a big problem, but I didn't realize they were going to kind of cut that so short and jump right into the Eclipso. Like, it's like, he's like, nope, you guys aren't the big bad. I am.
Right.
And that was, that was fun. That I liked. It's like, because the kids fighting were like they were very petulant about it.
Yeah.
And the fact is we got out of that pretty damn quick. I mean, Artemis runs away and doesn't come back until the very, really doesn't come back. And what's his name? New Fiddler just gets killed.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're going to go through this quick. Like, this is not the main point of the season. Eclipso is the main point. So we're going to go.
I thought for sure they were going to try to encourage the brother, which that reminds me, I got to ask you about Jim Gaffigan. But I thought for sure, especially after he had to give up the Thunderbolt, that his arc in this was that he was going to be seduced to the dark side and then have to be like rescued by Stargirl.
And they tricked me with that. It's like, no, she's like, I don't want you to. She just laughed in his face. She's like, that's cute. I don't want you. You're bait.
Right. All right. So if you don't have anything else to add about the villains there, I did want to talk about Jim Gaffigan. I love his. I don't know if you've ever seen his stand-up.
Yes. Okay.
I find him to be very funny. He's got a couple now on Amazon Prime that I've watched. Apparently, he has like 100 kids. He's a very funny guy, and he'll show up in place. He's kind of like Patton Oswalt, where he'll just kind of show up in places where like, wait, what are you doing here? Yeah. And he definitely gets a lot of voice work.
He did. He does a lot of voice work. But yeah, I know I like his comedy. I like him. I didn't realize he was going to be Thunderbolt until he started talking. I'm like, I know that voice. So I thought that was good. It makes sense. The kind of character Johnny Thunder and his stories were in the comics, that they would make the Thunderbolt kind of this lighthearted type fun character, especially when it does work like that, where it's like, if you don't say the thing right, Thunderbolt's going to do exactly what you say, and that's it. So if you say, make the villain, turn this guy into toast, he's going to turn him into toast.
Yeah, literally. It's like operating an old DOS computer. Yeah, you have to be very specific in your commands.
Yeah. But so I like that. Speaking of that, by the way, I had to look it up. I didn't realize that's Ethan Embry as Johnny Thunder in the flashbacks. Ethan Embry, That Thing You Do. Do you ever see Empire Records?
Yes,
he's Mark.
Oh, okay, cool.
Remember the one that gets eaten by the big plant in when he's with Guar?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Him. He's Johnny Thunder.
Huh.
I didn't realize that was him, and I was happening to be looking at him like, holy crap, that's Ethan Embry. I'm like, damn. So,
so I've been guiding the conversation here. I know how I want to end this, but what have we not talked about that stood out to you this season? What did you like? Didn't like? What do you want to talk about?
Well, one thing I want to say is I'm very glad at the end of the season Cameron's grandparents told him, because there does not seem to be much chemistry between him and Courtney at all. So hopefully this will end their romantic subplot, because that's there's no interest there.
Yeah,
I watched this and it's like, that's nice. It's like, that's nice. Why are you guys interested in each other? I don't feel it's very awkward. If there's nothing there, at least for me, like there's nothing there.
No, I don't disagree with you. First of all, Courtney's too much in love with being a superhero. Like that seems to be her character, is that she loves being Stargirl, and I think she's a teenage girl, so it's hard not to it's hard for her in particular not to find boys fun and attractive. But I think like she's so distracted by being a superhero, and it's so foremost on her mind that the possibility of being in love with this other boy seems so far away. And from his perspective, he seemed to be very much caught up in memorializing his father.
Yeah,
and they were not on the same track at all.
No, not at all. So that's probably done for next season, if because I'm sure he's going to find out all about her from his grandparents and be like, okay, I hate you.
Yeah,
because you don't paint that big thing your father and then decide, oh, I'm fine with the people who are responsible for his death. I'm going to date one of them. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, no, I don't see that happening. Yeah. What else, Al? What else did you dislike?
Let's see. What else I dislike. Oh, I liked how they delved more into the past of the JSA. It wasn't just background. They actually was. They keep up with it. I like they use a lot of the characters. We saw more than we expected, and I expected, and they tease more. So hopefully, maybe eventually we'll see the Spectre, or and I like John Wesley Shipp playing the Flash again. So that was always good.
I was surprised we didn't get more Joel McHale.
Well, it looks like we're going to get more of, at least more of him for at least an episode or two next season.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is they teased him going in from the first season to the second season. We see him at the beginning of the season. We get him in flashbacks as they're also trying to figure out what to do with Eclipso, and they're all struggling with his murder and all of that. And so, like, we got him there. I thought he was going to play. Here's my issue. I thought he was going to play a bigger role in season 2, and then he kind of just shows up at the end from off camera. And you saw Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's staying with them now, so hopefully we'll at least see him for an episode or two next season and find out why. Although I will say one thing, that's right. They did get me there. When the mother opens the door, says, "It's you," I assumed it was going to be the Shade.
Right.
I'm like, well, it's the Shade. And it wasn't. It was him. So they did play that, so good for them.
I don't know. I didn't love... On the one hand, like that's why I compared it to Ghostbusters. When the ghost of Egon shows up to help his granddaughter, fight Zool. It's a very nice scene. It's a very nice moment. Kind of wish that it stopped there, but that's a whole other review.
Yeah, they could have got rid of him a little sooner, I thought.
And a few of his cohorts. That whole okay. We can talk separately if you want to hear or listen to my actual rant about this on the Ghostbusters review that we did. My point is, helping out in the moment I can live with, and it is very nice when it's earned. And in Ghostbusters, I felt like Egon's moment with his granddaughter was earned. They were doing that the entire picture.
Yes.
Here, we can't beat this thing on our own, so we ex machina a solution. And while it was a nice moment for the character, as a viewer, not particularly satisfying.
It was a little out of left field, him showing up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue that. That definitely was a bit of out of left field.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, as far as we knew, he was dead.
Right.
So, and unlike with Dr. Midnight, we didn't have the whole season about finding out he's not dead and bringing him back.
Right.
Because at least they had a progression for that.
You're making my point. Like and I had actually forgotten about Dr. Midnight was something I wanted to talk about, but like Dr. Midnight, the whole season, as you said, they're building up to him coming back. And so when he does, it's a satisfying moment that pays off an entire season's worth of storytelling. When Starman shows up, it just feels like, is this not supposed to be about the kids? Why are you here? Why are you helping? You haven't been around this whole season.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, maybe what we get in season 3, the beginning of season 3, like finding out why he's not dead, maybe that will redeem, retroactively redeem it. Because it'll fill it in the gaps. I don't know.
I had more of a yay, warm, fuzzy feeling, a heroic cheer at the TV moment when this staff came back to life. At least.
Oh, I did love the staff and the dog playing.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they give them the staff, like they're just going with it anyway. The staff has its own like little almost intelligence. So
yeah, it's like the carpet from Aladdin.
Yeah, so it's perfect him playing with the dog. I would not mind seeing more little bits of it, like here and there in the background. Like they have 2 pets.
All right, so, and I bring this up all the time. I'm sure people playing Radulich and broadcasting bingo have now heard me mention this one, and they'll fill out their cards accordingly. You've watched Doom Patrol, yeah? No?
Not the new season.
Okay.
But I've seen the first 2, obviously.
So my favorite thing about the season 1 of Doom Patrol, that's the other one besides Swamp Thing that's really written well, is when Alec Tudyk at the end is like, now we get to the punchy part. And they're mocking comic book shows. They're mocking comic book movies. That everything has, for a while there was the trend of the blue light in the sky and all of that. Everything has to end with a big fight, which is why when Wonder Woman ends with a big speech, it was supposed to be refreshing. It just wasn't done well.
Well, that's something we've talked about my show where like, especially the Captain Marvel stories from the 70s, where he's supposed to have this big, like spiritual change. And he's now more like, he's not just a Kree soldier. He's like the protector of the universe. And he has cosmic awareness. But basically, he's still just beating up the bad guys. He's, as we would say, he's punching his way to peace.
Yep.
The best way to get to peace is by punching people in the face. And yeah, that's what's going to happen in these things. They're still going to be punching their way to peace.
And look, that's not the issue that I have here. My issue of this thing ending in a big slobber knocker. It's a CW nighttime telly soapy soup op. Take 3. Soapy superhero show. I accept that. I accept the Flash has to run up a building, that Arrow has to get into a big fist fight, and Supergirl has to, move the planet out of, back into orbit again. I accept all of those things. This one, it felt like, you'd get a small group of them attacking Eclipso, he'd kick their ass. You'd get another small group of them kicking their ass. And then they were all fighting him together, and he's still kicking their ass. And then, as we just mentioned, it only seems to matter when Starman shows up. And I was like, it was such a well-written season, and I like the fact that they were dealing with illusion and psychology and manipulation, and then it just came down to punching, and even and it just went on forever, and that's all that resolves this thing. Like there was no clever resolution to this. It was they punched him until he was dead.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is like, did we not know how to end this? And so I liked, as much as I liked this season, I did not love the ending.
No, it did feel a bit like that can't be the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not done, just like it wasn't done in the flashbacks, where it still was an issue. It's still an issue there because it didn't feel like they got too much. It felt like they're copying basically. Which one is that? The end of Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm going to make Freddy real now. I'm going to set traps around the house like Home Alone.
Right. I was going to say Avengers Endgame, I think, handled something like this the best. We're sure it's a big, massive fight. It's a huge payoff to 23 in movies in over 10 years. But if you'll remember, the objective was not to beat Thanos' army into pudding. It was to get the gauntlet away from Thanos.
Yes.
And everything was working in the service of that. And, and finally Tony gets the gauntlet and uses it to end things. They didn't win because they had punched them into submission. They won because they turned Thanos' plan against him.
Yeah, they didn't feel like they had as much of a plan here. It was more, we're going to use light. And that pretty much was the plan. That was pretty much the whole point, the plan. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, really, they could have just had her, they should have woken up Jade earlier to have her go with them when they first said they had to go, so they can use the two of them to, blast him already. And also send a Thunderbolt too. Like, let's just send the 3 of them there, blast them, go home, have pizza.
Also, possessing Stargirl for 2 minutes is sort of a waste of possessing Stargirl. There's so much more they could have done with that, and they were like, it was a cool visual, and that's all it amounted to, which is a little disappointing.
Yeah, no, it was a little rushed. Mm-hmm. Maybe they could have used another episode and actually had the people who showed up at the last minute have more use. Yeah. Instead of just shooting him with like 3 arrows into baseball. Right. And then just standing there going, hi.
Overall, minor quibbles. Like I said, this is the only CW show that I've watched. Like, I started in 2021, the beginning of it, I started watching Batgirl. I started watching Flash. I was not able to catch a single episode of Supergirl or Legend. So, and now we're into the next season of all of these things. Like, they're into their yearly crossover now.
That's why. That explains the commercials I was seeing. I'm so behind on those, and at least the ones I wanted to keep on, which was mainly Legends. I'm like a season behind on that.
I wanted to watch Kung Fu. I never got to watch that. I am utterly and completely a season and a half behind on everything CW, except this. This is the one show I kept up on because we were going to talk about it.
It's easier also because this one's so on its own.
Yeah.
Complete. It has nothing to do with any of the other ones. You can do it all. You can do whatever they want.
Yep.
Doesn't affect them. Different Earth.
Yeah, as much as I was enjoying the integrated Arrowverse that led into and was the conclusion of Crisis on Infinite Earth, which we talked about, is in the archives. Al was there. Yep. Al got mad at me because I had a moment where I didn't like something, and he was like, "No, Radulich, you're wrong."
Yeah, don't whatever. I like what I like. I don't give a crap. Like if you don't like.
I don't even remember what it was now. Oh, it was. Now I do remember it was. I didn't like how they handled the Batman scene. That's what it was. And we were kind of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was fine with the Batman scene. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, this is the only one that I feel bad because I do enjoy the CW shows, and I would like to know what's going on Flash right now. But I'm like, literally, I haven't even finished the Mirror Master season. So
I don't think I've watched Flash since Crisis.
okay. Oh wow, you're even further behind than I am.
Flash and Supergirl were the ones that kind of lost me the most.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I had time, eventually I would, but I kind of lost them after Crisis. Batgirl lost me once I knew they were recasting. It was completely like changing everything. And it kind of like had the effect of almost like finding out something's being canceled in two episodes or 2 issues of a comic. And you're like, who cares now?
I wanted to give it a chance. They were getting this LGBTQI gal to replace her. There was a lot of to do about it. I wanted to, I knew I was going to hear it from certain members of the comic book show and movie watching community. So if it could let me at least see the thing to be prepared for the argument, and not for nothing, but it lost me too. I was like, I don't think Batwoman's a well written show, especially season 2. I might go back and give it a chance, but
I'll probably watch the other ones eventually. But I do want to catch up first on Legends and Black Lightning. I really did enjoy Black Lightning. What I saw, like the first 2 or 3 seasons of it, really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done, and those 2 I want to catch up on next.
Over Christmas, while I'm off and I don't have to do other podcast stuff, when I'm not otherwise engaged with family, my goal. I've seen every season of Supergirl except this last one, and this was the last season. And so, in my OCD brain, I have to finish Supergirl. It's undone, and then I will have completed the set.
And then I'm done with it. I have the whole thing.
Yeah,
I can ignore it forever.
I can put it away. So yeah, I'm gonna watch Supergirl over Christmas, and eventually I'll watch Legends and catch up on Flash, but it's gonna be a while. But all of that to say, but we've kept up on Stargirl, and we will continue to do so. And as you said, because it's such an isolated show, it's easy to just kind of pick up when like I did here. I waited for it to be done. We scheduled the recording, and I binged it in about 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I've been watching this in the last week as I have time, as you can see. Like I actually watched the last 3 episodes today.
It's almost 9 o'clock. Come on,
I was off today, so I'm like, great. I can watch. Oh no, I have to go to the post office. Fine, spend 45 minutes getting stamps because it's almost Christmas.
Yep, I get it. All right, so that's it. That's our Stargirl season 2 review. It looks like season 3. We get more Starman. We'll get Obsidian. We'll get Helix.
Yep, Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones. So I'm excited for it. What do you think?
No, I am looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see more. I do like the Crocs with the parents. They are fun together.
Yes, they are, especially as they like to gently give Luke Wilson a little bit of jazz. So that's a fun pairing.
Yeah, and the 2 moms together, they don't get along, but they do have almost, they both are team moms, so to speak. Their kids are both playing the same sport.
Yes.
And they both have the same headaches with that because of that. So they can both relate to each other on that regard.
All right, Al. You do a podcast. I do a podcast. You're on my podcast.
Yes, I am.
Do a podcast.
I do some podcast. I do a podcast. Yep. Resurrections and Adam Warlock and Thanos podcast. It's all about the Marvel characters, Adam Warlock and Thanos. It's pretty much in the name, and some other, Marvel cosmic type stuff. You can just find it. Just pipe in Adam Warlock or Thanos, whatever podcatcher you use, at Adam Thanos Pod on Twitter.
What Thanos books haven't you done? What are your top 2 or 3 Thanos, Warlock, or Silver Surfer books that you're like, I got to get to these one day and just haven't done it yet?
Well, Infinity Gauntlet.
You haven't done the Infinity Gauntlet? That wasn't day 1?
No, we started originally. We're going in order more or less.
Oh God!
So what'd
you start in the 60s?
Yeah, for Warlock, he first appears in late 60s, and Thanos appears in the early 70s. But we're done with the 70s. We're in the 80s now. That's what this coming year is actually going to be.
Okay.
This year is going to be covering all, because they're both dead at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They both died in the late 70s, and they come back in time for Infinity Gauntlet. So this is all covering all the stuff in the 80s that's kind of relative to them, or kind of flashbacks them, or things, or because of them. So it's going to be 14 episodes, 30 issues, just speeding through all of them like that.
Now, is the plan to get to Infinity Watch and Infinity Brigade and Infinity Nonsense and whatever else?
Eventually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more the journey. I'm taking the journey. So we're going from the beginning, like I said, and just going through all the stuff. So we'll get to Infinity Gauntlet and all that eventually.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're not even close to that yet. Got it.
No, yeah, because Infinity Gauntlet was like what 92.
Oh, that's right. It was in the 90s. That's right. That's why I was reading it contemporaneously at the time.
Yeah, it was like early 90s. So yeah, that's when we're
so
gonna get to that.
So like Infinity Watch and all of that.
93 started. It started in 93.
Right.
After Infinity Gauntlet. So yeah, we'll get there eventually.
Okay. I'll stop pestering you now about your schedule.
Plus, do some other random things, cartoons that feature them, things like that. That takes time too.
Yep. All right. So it was great having you here. Yeah, check out his podcast. I tweet his stuff all the time. So if you're following me on Twitter, you'll see his podcast there. In the meantime, I ran a gauntlet last night, Al. Let me tell you. I worked for 12 hours, came home, reviewed West Side Story with Alexis Hana, and then ran to the bathroom, ran back again, and did another 2 hours with Patrick Mullen chronicling, and I think you're a wrestling fan, if I remember correctly.
I've enjoyed it.
We continued our look back at the history of WrestleMania, the first 20 years, and this was a triple header. We looked at WrestleManias 11, 12, and 13. The rise and fall of... Yeah, it was a dog of an episode. The rise and fall of the new generation and the birth of Attitude. So that was last night. Sunday, speaking of triple headers, myself, Benjamin J. Colon, and Sean Comer, we did a special kind of long road to ruin. We, instead of comparing movies within a franchise, we compared franchises. Oh. We looked at the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, compared it to the Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, and then compared it to the two Tom Holland movies. We looked at who was the best Spider-Man, which franchises had the best villains, and overall, which franchise came closest to the comics. Who wore it best was the line I kept using. Tomorrow, we've got it's our annual Christmas show here on the Metal Hammer of Doom. We're going to have a very poppy Christmas. We're going to listen to her single, her EP, A Very Poppy Christmas, and then a whole bunch of her other singles and EPs.
Who?
Poppy. Do you not know the Poppy?
I did. I thought you meant very poppy, like just pop music. I didn't know that was a person.
No. We are parishioners in the Church of Poppy. Here on the Rattle Legend Broadcasting Network. We think she's fantastic. So we're gonna listen to a whole bunch of her singles tomorrow night on the Metal Hammer of Doom. Jesse's been doing a 4-part Spider-Verse epic. Parts 1 and 2 have already dropped. Tomorrow are 3 and Thursday 4. Speaking of Thursday, myself and Alexis Hana will be reviewing Spencer, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. And then in the evening, after I get back from seeing Spider-Man No Way Home, first I'm gonna watch the Beatles, the third part of the Beatles Get Back documentary with my wife. But then after that, when Ronnie gets home from seeing Spider-Man, we will be talking about the first two Kingsman movies. This weekend we've got some boxing for you. We've got the Otter Biev versus Marcus Brown fight. That'll either be me and Robert Winfrey or myself and Paul Farr. And Saturday we have a re-airing of our Secret Life of Pets review from a few years back. And then in the evening, Daniel Lasby and I will be doing commentary for Jake Paul versus Tyrone Woodley 2 Electric Boogaloo. All right.
That it? That's all?
I think that's enough. My goodness. All right, Al. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you. Thank you all for listening. For Al Sedano of the Resurrections podcast, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.